And this is a key takeaway I want people to understand if they played other card games, is if you have a 40% win rate deck, every game you win 2 cubes. Those 4 games that you win out of 10, you've won 8 cubes. Those 6 games you've lost in the 10 games, you lost 1 cube, you're up 2 cubes in 10 games. And when Marble Snap is only 6 turns, games happen very frequently. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another Marble Snap video. Today I have the requested guide for my subscribers on how to rank up and ladder in Marble Snap. I've been working on this deck for a little bit. This is probably one of the higher efforts I've put into a video of like collecting footage and kind of breaking down the concepts to as simple as I can. Just as a disclaimer, if you're new to my channel, my name is Homeboy Maxwell. I post Marble Snap videos pretty much every day. If this helps you at all, I really hope you leave a like and subscribe. I've had a lot of growth with Marble Snap, and I really appreciate it. This deck is more intended for newer players. It's also intended for people who have not been able to reach Infinite yet. And so some of these tips might feel a little too simple, like you've heard them before. They don't really teach you anything. For that, I apologize. But really, this video was requested for people who haven't been able to reach Infinite and people who want to get higher ladder positions every season. I am fairly new to Marble Snap myself. I only have a collection level of like 610, but I managed to reach like rank 145 in Infinite and stuff like that, even against pull 3 decks. And I just thought, this is my tips. This is what I've experienced that might be able to help people. But so there's basically 3 reasons why you might not be able, from what I've gathered together, there's 3 reasons why you might be falling short of reaching Infinite, or why you might have trouble on the ladder. Like you lose 10 games, you lose 20 cubes, stuff like that, where you're just kind of like, man, like what happened there? There's 3 common reasons that I see for people losing cubes in Marble Snap. And they are, number 1, they don't realize that deck win rate is not as important as cube equity. Number 2, they snap after their power plays instead of before their power plays, and they chase out your opponents. And number 3, and this is a big one, this is probably the most nuanced one, for if you've already kind of reached rank 80, rank 90, and you need that final push, don't chase out your opponents with snapping. This is definitely the most niche thing we'll talk about in this video, but I do think if you click on this video and you're already familiar with the game, if you've reached Infinite before, this is the tip that I would give to people who still want to push a little bit higher. But that's really the only nuanced thing. The other ones are, pretty common ideas that you might understand if you've reached Infinite before, if you play the game more frequently. And so, number 1, I think this is the most important thing if you've played card games before that might have a disconnect in Marble Snap that's like a little confusing. And that's that deck win rate is not the most important thing for the deck you choose to ladder with. One of the things I love about Marble Snap compared to Hearthstone, compared to Magic the Gathering, stuff like that, is that the game is only ever 6 turns, always. You do not, sometimes you have a 7th turn, sometimes you have a 4th turn with locations. That's not really, not that important. But what I mean by that is, like, if you've played Magic before and you've played Modern in Magic, some games last like 40 minutes and they take forever. Where if you're grinding money, like I've grinded Magic for money before. I play leagues on Moto for like $10 here and there. If you've played those games, you want to pick a fast ladder deck. You want to play Burn because you can just play more games in a simple amount of time. And you want a deck that's like as high above 50% as you can get. Like most decks in Magic don't go over like a 60% win rate. But in Marble Snap, decks can have kind of a surprisingly high win rate, but don't win a lot of cubes. So the most important thing, honestly, to laddering to Infinite, in my opinion, is to pick a deck that has good cube equity. And what I mean by cube equity is a deck where the games you win a high amount of cubes, and the games you lose, you only lose 1. You want to play decks to ladder with, in my experience, to really understand how snapping works for you and your opponent's deck, is you want to play decks where when you snap, you're going to win like 4 or 8 cube games, at least 2. And you want to only retreat on 1. So like good examples of this are like Zabu decks, where the games you have Zabu, you want to snap. Like even if you don't have like the tools to help you win the game after Zabu, you just have Zabu right now. Snapping on Zabu is going to win you more cubes than it loses in the long run, because that's really what it is. When you're grinding on the ladder, when you're trying to hit Infinite, it is a longer process. It is not quick. Another example of this is Daredevil. Daredevil is the kind of deck where I snap games where I have Daredevil, and that's it. I will lose some games because I don't draw a good 5-drop. My hand's really clustered. The mana is awkward. But if I have Daredevil, it is the namesake of the deck is there, where I am more likely to win games than I won't in the long run. I'm going to win more cubes from just snapping on Daredevil than from not snapping on Daredevil. In games where I don't have Daredevil, where my hand's awkward and my opponent snaps, I retreat because I'm only losing 1 cube. It's not that big of a deal to lose 1 cube, but the games you win, I'm winning 2 cubes. If you have a 40% win rate with a deck, and this is a key takeaway I want people to understand if they played other card games, is if you have a 40% win rate deck, every game you win 2 cubes. those 4 games that you win out of 10, you've won 8 cubes. Those 6 games you've lost in the 10 games, you lost 1 cube. You're up 2 cubes in 10 games. And when Marvel Snap is only 6 turns, games happen very frequently. And that's like worst case scenario, right? Like I only lost 1, I only won 2. That's kind of a slow climb. But for a lot of people, like being up 2 cubes in 10 games is not that bad when you can play games super fast. I can play a Marvel Snap game like in 5 minutes. I can play, 10 games in under an hour. You want to make sure that when you play these decks where they have maybe lower win rate but really, really powerful turns, like the Lockjaw deck I've been featuring, like Daredevil, like Zabu, Silver Surfer if you're at that collection level. But I feel like, if you have Silver Surfer, if you're able to make the Brood deck work, you're probably already familiar with this. You want to snap before your power plays. Don't chase people out with snapping. You want to lock them in. That is the most important thing. Because again, the way you're going to ladder is just based on snapping. It's just based on cubes. You do not need to play longer decks. You do not need to play aggro decks. Or like there isn't really like typical aggro, but like zoo decks. All the decks can win you the same amount of cubes potentially. So it's about the decks you can consistently win cubes with. So when I play Lockjaw, it is wrong of me to snap after Lockjaw. I should snap before Lockjaw. When I play Daredevil, I don't want to snap after my Daredevil turn. I want to snap before the Daredevil. You want to lock them in for the turn you're doing your power play. And a power play can be really complicated depending on the deck. It's not a very simple decision, but it's something you have to ask yourself when you're playing the deck. When do I want to force my opponent to commit to see the rest of the game? And so for me, a good example is, again, Lockjaw, Zabu, a Daredevil. These are cards that completely define the archetype. The games you have them are very different from the games you don't have them, where you want to play them before you actually like release the card. You want to snap before you release the card. If I have Zabu, I'm snapping when I see Zabu. If I have Lockjaw and I'm able to play Lockjaw on turn 3, I'm snapping before I play the Lockjaw. Make them commit the cube to stay in the game. Now you're at least getting 2 cubes. And since the games, the inconsistency in those decks is not the games where you actually have Zabu in play, you actually have Lockjaw in play. The inconsistency in those decks are the games where you don't draw them, where you suddenly just have, like 5 4-drops in your hand and you can't do anything with it. Those are the games you have to worry about. Where if you snap consistently on the games where you have the more powerful versions of the deck, you're gonna win games in the long run. Now, so I myself am a visual learner, so I think examples are the best way to kind of help understand this. This is the Lockjaw deck I've been playing frequently. It is gonna be turn 3 here in a second, and I'm gonna play Lockjaw. Now you'll notice I don't snap here. I just play Lockjaw and I don't think about it. I'm only at 1 cube right now. My opponent's also only at 1 cube right now. If I snap before I play Lockjaw, I'm committing them to a second cube. And so what's going to happen here is the next location is going to get revealed, and it's going to screw up their deck, but my deck isn't going to be bothered by it. I didn't make them commit the second cube before, where now, let me get this out of the way. Now, since I haven't made them commit the second cube before, when I snap, they're going to run. And so that's exactly what happens. I only get 1 cube this game, even though I had a game where I had Lockjaw. I had the more powerful percentile of the deck, but they run because they realize they can't beat the Lockjaw with what happened. Since their on-reveal effects got shut off because of Lumeria, and they didn't know that until this turn. Now that they have the information, they're going to run. They're not going to stay around for another cube. If I snap before Lockjaw, I'm up 2 cubes this game instead of 1. That's twice as many. So this is another example I'm going to be showing you here. Here the board state is my opponent has a Goose in play, and I have a Lockjaw. This is another game where I have Lockjaw, which when you have Lockjaw in the Lockjaw deck, it is the most powerful the deck's going to get. Sure, you can high roll as far as what you hit off of Lockjaw, but just having the Lockjaw alone, the games where you draw Lockjaw and you play Lockjaw on turn 3, your win percentage shoots up like crazy. And so I'm not going to snap here. But if you think about what's going to happen, I'm going to play Lockjaw middle into the Goose, and they're not going to be able to play 4, 5s, or 6s in the space. But because I have the Lockjaw, I'm getting rid of my 1-drops for 4, 5s, and 6s in the space, and there's no way they're going to be able to win that tile. And then I have Jubilee to pay on the left. It's very clear I'm in a strong position here just looking at my hand. But since I don't snap, they don't commit the cube. So now look at it. They committed to the middle, and they're going to lose middle. They're going to lose middle horribly because I'm going to play a bunch of 1-drops. I'm going to get 3 triggers off of Lockjaw, and I'm going to have 4, 5s, and 6s in the play, and they're not. That tile has become basically unwinnable for them because of their own Goose. I'm able to cheat the effects of their own Goose because of Lockjaw, and now like the tile just has become completely unwinnable for them. They don't know I'm going to win left, but now like they're going to leave. They retreat. And if I snap the turn before I play the Lockjaw, I steal an extra cube. That's 2 extra cubes I've missed so far, but it can get so much worse. This is enough. So now in the next game, I have a Leech. They're a Wong deck. I know if I Leech their hand when they're the Wong deck and they don't get their on-reveal effects, they're going to lose. So I snap before they get to see the leech. I lock them into the next cube. They have to play out the next turn now if they want to do their thing with Wong. And so because I play the leech on the same turn I snap, they don't get to have the advantage of knowing that they lost. They are totally done for after I reveal the leech. There's no way they can win. They're even going to react to the leech because they realize how backbreaking it is. They're going to do the little like smiley face on it in a second. But that's my point, where like this game, I make them commit to 4 cubes because they don't have because I didn't give them the information that they're about to get leeched. And so they drew Maximus the last turn of the game because it was the only card that wasn't hit by leech. They react to the leech. The leech won the game. The leech single-handedly won the game. And so this is my third point. And this is a lot more complicated, but I think it's important that I bring it up because sometimes if you don't tell someone something, they're not really going to think about it, if you get what I'm saying. People need to hear something to visualize it. So if you've ever played poker, sometimes when you play poker, you raise too much when you have a good hand and everybody runs, everybody folds, right? But if you slowly raise and you increase the ante of the pot over time, they've already sunk so much in where they kind of get like a sunken cost fallacy. But the point I try to make off of that is similar to how don't snap before your power plays. Don't chase people out with snapping. Those games that I showed, I chase people out by snapping without realizing it. And there's some really clear examples of that. Like right here, if you look at this board state, I'm ahead on the left, I'm dominating middle, and I have a blue marble or a Chavez to win the game with. They're very much behind. It's very hard for them to win this game. If I snap, they're guaranteed to retreat. They do end up retreating anyways, but the point I'm trying to make is if you are like absolutely destroying the board, there's no way your opponent can win at this point. Don't snap to like get them out. Like don't snap and potentially get 4 cubes. Make them see the last turn. So this is the final example I have as far as don't snap to make them run away. I'm about to reveal a Hulk. They are losing middle. If they play more cards, their Devil Dinosaur reduces. My Sunspot is dominating left, so they have to play for all 3 lanes. If I snap here, they run, because they're barely scraping by. There's a small chance they can win, and for 1 more cube, they don't really care about staying in. But if I snap here, I scare them off and I lose a cube. Don't be like me in the games where I showed you with the Lockjaw, where I'm scaring them off because they know I have the power plays now. I already showed them the strong turn. I'm about to double my Hulk here, put 24 on the right. For them to beat 24 added on the right, they have to play to just that lane, and they can't play to all 3 lanes. Here, my opponent, they play a Shang-Chi, which is fine. They commit a Watcher here, and realistically, were they ever winning there? Probably not, but for just 1 more cube, they decided to stay. Another example, I'm up 18 on the left, I'm up 18 on the right, and also in this position, they have to play something to the middle to get the rescue bonus. So they're behind left, behind middle, behind right, where they're just in a terrible position. They want to get the rescue bonus, but if they don't, then they're losing left and right guaranteed. If I snap here, they're going to run. They're only in for 1 cube right now. They'll stay for another, possibly, sometimes, way more likely, if you don't up the ante. If you 4 times the ante, there's no way they're going to stay in. But if you just add 1, you're not chasing them off with the snap. They're lazy. They're like, oh, how many times have you done it? How many times have you been like, it's just 1 more cube. Like, I'll see what happens. There's like a small chance I win, right? Here, like, their play was horrible. I don't know, like, why they stayed in. They should have left. But my point stands that you don't want to chase people off with a snap. You want to sucker them in. You know what I mean? The snap is a tool to climb with. It is not a tool to win, to, like, just win a single game with. The most important thing with the snap is to get people to commit more cubes to your win. So that's going to do it to the end of the video. This is very different from anything I've done before, but, you know, subscribers, commenters, people were asking for, like, a laddering guide. You know, I'm rank 145, I have collection level 623, this is my only account, and these are just things I've learned about snapping that are really useful and make Marvel Snap really interesting, contrary to other card games, where, since there's only ever 6 turns, snapping is the most important thing to laddering with, where you can play a game where your deck has a 70% win rate in the matches you play. Like the Daredevil deck I showcase has a really high win rate, but it's bad at snapping. It's bad at getting cubes out of people. You have to be very specific about it. But some of the other decks I play, like the Zabu deck I featured, I win less games with that because it's inherently a higher variance deck where the games where you have Zabu, it's a completely different beast. But because I snap smarter and I get 4 cubes out of the games I win, where even though I may be winning 40% of games, if I win, you know, 4 times 4 is 16. If I win 16 cubes in the games I win, and then lose 6 cubes in the games I lost, then that's only, you know, I'm up 8 cubes or something. I'm up 8 cubes. It's a huge difference, and it's by far what makes the snap so interesting. I do hope you guys enjoyed. Hopefully you learned something. I don't normally make these kinds of videos, but I do upload, Marvel Snap videos every day. So if I helped you, I would appreciate, if you liked, if you subscribed, if you commented. I have been streaming on Twitch more. I plan on streaming more on Twitch this week and going forward. I do just post deck highlights normally, and I probably will post another one tomorrow. But since this was requested, I thought I'd, help out. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Enjoy your night, and hopefully you see me tomorrow for another Marvel Snap video.